These are my sweet potatoes, and normally what you would do with them is store them in a cool, dry spot. But anyway, these weren't done that way. They were put in my house, and which is warm. And so anyway, what has happened is they have sprouted, and I want to show you two different methods to grow them. In efforts to try to save them, because if you just let them sprout like this and you don't allow them to produce any kind of roots or anything, they'll just shrivel up, and you can't eat them and you can't grow nothing from them either. So anyway, the two different methods that I want to show you, the first is, the kind of the old school potato in a jar, except for this is a sweet potato. And what I've done is I've stuck 4 toothpicks in the sweet potato, and of course there's a root coming out the bottom, and you want to put half of it in the water. Make sure you get your root in there, and the other half, the half that has sprouted, have that above the water, and it's just going to sit there until you grow some roots out of it. And should take a few weeks, but once you do start to produce, or once it starts to produce roots, it'll also start growing little vines out the top. And once they get about, I'd say, a foot long, you can cut them off and put the vines that you've cut off into water as well. And then the vines will start to produce roots. And the point of this, you're using this seed potato to start vines, and the vines themselves you're going to take and put into the ground in the garden after the last frost, because sweet potatoes cannot tolerate frost. So anyway, you're going to take the sweet potatoes, grow the vines, cut the vines off, root them, and then plant them into the ground after the frost. And then everywhere where they're planted, sweet potatoes will grow from them. This is the first method. The second method that I wanted to show you is this. These are sweet potatoes, and they're planted in regular, potting soil. And I've already planted some right here, but I'm going to show you what to do with them. Basically, when you're going to plant them, if you don't always have, sprouts like this to show you which end, is the right end, you can kind of look, and that one's showing some sprouts on it. But if you don't have anything, like say if it's like this and there's no roots coming or no sprouts coming from anywhere, honestly you can plant either end and either end will work. I know that sounds strange, but you'll grow roots from one end and you'll have sprouts come from the other, so it doesn't really matter. You try to get the one like this end, because it looks kind of broken off. You try to get the end that looks like it was the top, because a lot of times they'll be broken off. But if you just can't tell, don't worry about it. Anyway, some of these, the ones that have had sprouts, they're going to get planted. The other ones that haven't sprouted, I'm going to go ahead and just put them in a cool spot and save those for spring. But anyway, once you have picked your sprout, and I'll go ahead and just kind of take this one, you can kind of sort of see a little sprouted, or excuse me, once you've taken your potato and you've figured out which end is the right end, you just kind of stick it in the dirt. You don't have to, they kind of help support themselves. You don't have to do it any special way, and then fill in around them. Once you get enough dirt, in and around, and I'm doing this one-handed, but you want to firm your soil, just to ensure that it, is supported. It's not going to come out. You get good contact with the potato, whatnot. And then of course water it in, and stick it with the rest, and of course use your handy dandy fork to label it, so you won't forget that these are sweet potatoes. Not that you would, but you get my point. And anyway, once you have either planted this method or this, again, like I said, you're going to get vines that are going to grow out, and once they reach about that foot long, put them in a vase, let them root, and plant them in the garden. And usually it takes from about spring, whenever your last frost is, to about, I'd say, November is usually when you can go and dig down and harvest your sweet potatoes. Your area might be a little bit different. I'm in Virginia, so that's kind of what it is for my area. But anyway, that is how to grow sweet potatoes from, little small potato starts. Anyway, happy gardening. Talk to you guys soon.